any questions before we start?
Okay.
Ready to go.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and open it up. So we'll give people a couple of minutes to log in once we get started, and then I'll get us started.
Very good.
Are you still hot? Wait a minute.
No, not passed. That's what
I
happens.
know what happens.
Well, I don't need to go. Do I need to just review the description of what we're doing, or just can we get just right into it? Because the description is
Fair.
posted.
Yeah, if you wanted to go over it quickly before you start, you could. Otherwise, it is on the
Yeah.
website. So
All right.
hi everybody, thanks for joining us. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes to let people log on and get settled, and then we will get started.
My interview from way back 2020 when they did yours. You've got yours too, because I gave it to you.
This one?
No, it's her whole interview. It's about 24 pages long.
Oh.
Maybe she's been doing it.
Just want to let you know, ladies, we're live right now.
All right. We're not going to say
Listening
anything that's going to embarrass anybody.
They're listening to everything you're saying.
That's all right.
Well, let's go ahead and get started here. Hi everybody, I'm Alex Tarantino. I'm the PDI Education Chair. Thank you for joining us. Want to give a big thanks to our 2023 conference sponsors. I'll just go over a quick few Zoom tidbits here for our attendees. So all attendees are muted, but you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to put in questions, and then we'll take audience questions at the end. The chat box is also there. If you're having technical difficulties, you can get in touch with me and I'll try to help you out. We are recording all of our conference sessions, so they'll be available in a few weeks on Preservation Delaware's YouTube channel. And if you aren't already a member of PDI, I want to invite you to consider joining us, because your support helps us keep events like this one free. So thanks in advance for that. And then I just want to go ahead and introduce our moderator today. So Dr. Abdullah Muhammad is one of our PDI board members. He spent his formative years in Baltimore, Maryland, where he lived for 38 years. He graduated from Baltimore's top college prep high school and then enrolled at Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine. After only 3 years, he graduated cum laude as an early graduate. After that, he went back to Baltimore to teach English at his high school alma mater. And then from there, even as he spent 17 years working in the insurance industry, he still maintained his commitment to education. So he was PTA president at his daughter's middle school, then became regional PTA coordinator, president of Baltimore's PTAs and PTOs, and then finally parent representative on the superintendent's advisory board. In 1993, he moved to New York City, where he completed his Master of Arts degree at Teachers College, Columbia University. He graduated with honors in 1996 while working full-time as a special education teacher for middle school students in Queens. Then he moved to Delaware in 2003 after spending 10 years studying and teaching in New York City, where he successfully completed 2 master's degrees in education and served as a principal for 1 year. So after he came to Delaware, he served 1 year in the Colonial School District, where he discovered a need for a new kind of history book and began by publishing a #1 selling Delaware history calendar, followed by his reader-friendly history book, which is called The Making of Delaware One Day at a Time. Lastly, he served as an adjunct professor in the history department at Delaware State University, where he completed his doctoral degree in under 3 years, and his second history book, Africans in New Sweden, The Untold Story. Prior to joining the teaching staff at DSU, he was recruited to serve on the board of the Delaware Preservation Fund. And while on the board of DPF, he served as both vice president and president before joining the board of PDI, and he is still one of our board members today. So in addition to being the project director of the DuPont Colored School Oral History Project, he serves as chairman of the Newcastle County Library Advisory Board, vice president of Old Swedes Historic Site, and the in-house historian for the New Sweden Center. So Dr. Muhammad is a busy man, and we thank him and appreciate his help for this. So welcome, Dr. Muhammad, and welcome, Dr. Hollingsworth and Mrs. Browne. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for that great introduction. I guess I got to pare that down a little bit so we don't spend so much time talking about things I've done. And let's talk about some of the things that these luminaries here, I have to refer to them as luminaries because there are literally only a handful of graduates from Delaware State College for Colored Students that are still alive. And we have two of the most prominent members of that unique group. And when I say handful, I mean five. There are only five. So our two speakers for today will be Mrs. Susan Young Browne at a young age of 105, and Dr. Reba Hollingsworth, who has turned 97 today.
Yeah.
And before we leave you all, we are going to do a little special tribute to Dr. Hollingsworth, and I hope she doesn't get too embarrassed. So I thank you all for joining, and please, stick around so after we have our Q&A, we'll have our tribute for Dr. Hollingsworth. I did want to go over the fact that some of the information about the DuPont, this is a DuPont school that was constructed in 1922. As you know, well, you'll find out as we go through the talk today that Mrs. Browne joined the student body there in 1937, and Dr. Hollingsworth came a few years after that. But the school itself was a two-room brick school building, and it was near and associated with the State College for Colored Students that was first organized in 1898. So, or 92, I'm sorry, 1892. Is that correct, 92?
91?
Oh, it's 91.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's a little bit about and it only became the second high school in Delaware where colored students, both African Americans and Native Americans, could attend if they wanted to complete high school. So I want to begin by just talking about Dr. Hollingsworth here for a second. I introduced her with reading her bio. Dr. Reba Ross Hollingsworth is a dedicated educator, counselor, and community activist born and raised in Milford, Delaware. She is a lifelong advocate for education. Dr. Hollingsworth overcame the obstacles of living in a segregated society. And we will find out more about that as we go into the discussion. After attending Milford Colored School number 3C and Booker T. Washington Middle School, she earned her high school diploma in 1945 from the Delaware State College High School for Colored Students in Dover, which was then the only educational institution in Kent and Sussex counties that provided high school instructions to African American students and Native American students. She graduated from Delaware State College in 1949 with a BS degree in home economics and became a teacher. Even still, Dr. Hollingsworth continued to further her education despite being shunned and ignored as one of only two Black students in the School of Home Economics graduate program at the University of Delaware. She attended summer school there in 1952. She also earned a master's in education and guidance and counseling from University of Delaware in 1970 and a Ph.D. in counseling from Pacific Western University in 2001. After starting as a teacher in South Carolina, she was hired to teach home economics and science at William C. Jason Comprehensive High School in Georgetown, Delaware in 1954. In 1966, she took a new position as a guidance counselor at Dover High School in Dover, Delaware, where she was the first Black woman counselor at the school. Dr. Hollingsworth retired in 1988, and that was a long time ago as well. Dr. Hollingsworth has served her community in countless ways, both as an educator, counselor, and advocate for civil rights, and she has been recognized and honored in Delaware and abroad. She has served on a number of boards and commissions, including as vice chair of the Delaware Heritage Commission, a lifelong member of the NAACP, and as the first Black president of the Delaware School Counselors Association. And in 2017, Dr. Hollingsworth, the Dr. Hollingsworth Center at the Early College High School at Delaware State University was renamed in her honor for her accomplishments and legacy at the school. Additionally, Dr. Hollingsworth was inducted into the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame in 2018. In 2023, she remains very active in state and local affairs and shows absolutely no signs of slowing down at the young age of 97. So again, welcome, Dr. Hollingsworth. I'd like to introduce our next guest, Mrs. Susan Browne, who is a young age of 105 years old. When she was born in Houston, Delaware in 1918, she started first grade in 1924 at Williamsville Colored School located in Houston, Delaware, and left in 1932 after completing 8th grade. Her formal education was completed at segregated schools in the state, including her graduation from Delaware State College for Colored Students High School in 1937, and then later from the college in 1945. While at the State College, both for high school and college, she lived on campus and paid a total of $25 per year, which she says was a lot of money back in those days. After finishing high school, she took a year off to work and make some money to complete college. She returned as a day student and graduated in 1945 with a degree in elementary education. While attending college, she took a little bit more time off to get married and earn enough money to stay on campus and graduate. Mrs. Browne took an interest in elementary education after being influenced by one of her elementary school teachers, Mrs. Elizabeth Shockley. After graduating with her teaching degree, she started as a 3rd grade teacher at John Wesley Elementary School and then Lockwood Elementary School, where she taught grades 1 through 6. She went on to teach at Booker T. Washington School and Fairview Elementary School, where she retired after 30 years as a teacher. So to the both of you, welcome. So happy to have you. I hope that the audience will appreciate all the years that you put into being a part of education here in the state of Delaware. I want to just acknowledge that Dr. Hollingsworth did turn 97 today. So just want to reiterate that we have a special announcement and treat for her at the end of this. So stick around, folks. Don't go anywhere. And I'm going to get started with my first question. And I just want everyone that is on the line, if you have a phone, if you can mute the phone so that we don't have to get disturbed by any ringing of the phone. And I'm doing that now just as I'm talking to you. So I want to get back and get started. Ladies, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dr. Hollingsworth, you're a little cut off from your screen.
Yeah.
You need them. Yeah. There you go. Now we got both of you in full view. And Mrs. Browne, I'm going to start with you first. The question will be the same for the both of you, but I will repeat the question for you each time. What can you tell us about your first year at that school, and tell us how you felt about having the opportunity to attend the school?
Talking to you, me.
You,
Oh,
here.
looking at that, my first year,
Talk louder.
Yes.
I was so happy to be there because I lived
Talk louder.
Oh, we can hear.
happy. I was happy to be able to continue my education because I lived on a farm and we didn't have the things that I could get at Delaware State. And in fact, I say we didn't have electricity and we didn't have running water. So therefore, my first year, I was just so happy to be able to attend.
Do you? I also want to mention that we have Dr. Overby, Lynette Overby, with us as well. Can you just peek in so that we can? Hi, Dr. Overby. This is Mrs. Browne's daughter. Mrs. Browne has, you know how when you get older, those little hairs that you have in your middle ear, when they die off, they don't grow back. And a lot of people don't understand that there is no regeneration of those little fine hairs that help you to hear. So thank you, Dr. Overby, for being here with us to assist your mom, make sure she hears everything and she's able to respond accordingly.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And also, Reba Hollingsworth is my cousin, so we're all related here.
Yes.
Happy to be here to help.
See, you took that away from me. I was getting ready to mention that after. Anyway, thank you for, introducing that. All right, now, Dr. Hollingsworth, we need you a little bit more in the, yeah, there you go.
All right.
But before I ask you that same question, Mrs. Browne, can you tell us how old you were when you started at Delaware State College?
How old were you?
How old were you?
I was 15 when I started at Delaware State College because I had stayed at a year between elementary school and high school.
Okay.
And I can say my sister was a boarding student and she gave up her spot so that I could attend boarding school.
Isn't that a nice gesture? Thank you. Dr. Hollingsworth, you want me to repeat the question or you?
No, I have a question. What can I tell you about my first year at the school at Delaware State and how I felt about the opportunity to attend? Well, first of all, the opportunity was that I would be able to have a bed to myself and be able to take a shower because as Susan mentioned, during the years that late 30s and 40s, we did not have running water, electricity, and indoor plumbing and so forth. So when we got to Delaware State College High School, that was the first year I was able to take a shower. But that was one of the things that I remembered that I thought was cute, in addition to the fact that I shared a bed, but being away from home and being able to attend the same school that my mother had attended and to kind of complete her goal a little bit was really the first thing that was, I guess, first in my mind about going to Delaware State, in addition to the fact that I did not want to work in the chicken factory and the bean factory all my life. And so I needed an education and always wanted to teach.
Thank you. And how old were you when you went there?
I was 16 because I had to repeat the second grade because that was the year that all of the brothers and sisters in our family had all the childhood communicable diseases. And at that time, we were quarantined. So we only got to go to school 3 months out of the year. So we had to repeat the grades that we were in at that time, which made me a little bit more mature than most of my classmates.
Well, thank you for that. We're going to move on, and I'm really interested, Mrs. Browne. I'm interested in, what was a typical day like when you were at the high school, and how did that day the routine of the day change when you were in college at Delaware State?
Well, now, when I was in high school, I was a boarding student, and we had our first meal at 8 o'clock. I think that's what it is. Maybe it was 7, because the classes started at 8 o'clock, and you had to be in Delaware Hall for your first class at 8 o'clock. So that was my first year there.
What else did you do during the
Huh?
day? What else did you do that day
Oh.
on a typical day?
Well, let's see. Oh, I know. Our first year, we had to go to Dr. Jason was the religious leader at that time. So Dr. Jason, on Sunday, you had to go for well, in the morning for Sunday school, and then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you had to go back and listen to Dr. Jason talk. And that was my first year. But after that, he left, and we didn't have to do that anymore.
So what were your studies like? What was the rest of the day like? You know, your classes, the
What
lunch?
classes did you take?
Oh, I think our classes started at, I'm trying to remember,
You have English?
at 8 o'clock in the morning. And somehow you had to take English and science and math and social studies. Those were the 4 required that you had to take. And I think my first year, I made my schedule so that all my classes were in the morning. And I think after lunch, we had lunch from 12 to 1. At 1 o'clock, I think I had one class, and then my day was through. And by me being in class so long, I decided that I'd like to, in Delaware Hall, you go upstairs. I would go upstairs and walk across and come back. So the dean decided that I didn't, they put me out for a while. I had to go to the dormitory. And that was my first year.
So how did your classes? I mean, I'm just really, you know, amazed at what you can remember from that far back, because I wouldn't want to be the one to try to describe what I did when I was, because I don't remember a whole lot. I guess I just let that go. But how did your days? How did you?
My class, well, you see, at that time, the teachers taught in high school, and they also taught in college. They had to do double work. And but of course, my classes, as I said, I tried to get all my classes in the morning and have my afternoon free. And I guess that's about it. I enjoyed being there, because as I guess I said before, I never had a bed by myself. And to be there with the running water and the electricity, and well, I just enjoyed being there.
Was the day any longer for you when you went to the college versus the high school?
What was your day like in college?
In college, it was a little different. It was a lot different. I was a day student. I couldn't afford to stay on campus. So it was a man that lived in Dover that would pick up children, students, and take them to school. So he'd pick up the high school and the college students. So my sister lived in Dover, so I stayed with her, and I became a day student. And that's how I got back and forth.
Okay, thank you. Because my next question was going to be about how was the travel like to go back and forth to school? But Dr. Hollingsworth, I know that you, the same question for you, like what was high school like, and how did that differ when you started at the college level at Delaware State?
Well, as a high school student, we lived in the high school girls' dormitory, which was Lockwood Hall, the oldest building there on campus. And the college students, girls, lived in Lower Hall next door. The high school building was a two-room DuPont school behind Lower Hall. I didn't have any classes at all in the high school building. All my classes were in the college departments because I was a home economics major with a science minor. So rather than having duplicate facilities on one campus, then all of us actually attended the college classes, though we had high school teachers at the time.
Interesting.
It was quite interesting actually going to college because as Susan said, you had to get up early in the morning, make your bed, clean your room, and be ready for breakfast at 7 o'clock and classes at 8. And you only went back to your dormitory if you happened to have a study period in between, which were very few and far between. So you actually were working the whole time in classes, and you had the academic classes with the home major. I didn't have the business classes and those kind of things because I did not have enough room by taking the science laboratory classes as well as my science home economics classes. So I just had a full day, all day.
So when did your typical day end for classes?
For classes, usually at 4 o'clock. But if you happen to need to go to the library to make up some work or something, then that was added to the day. But our day was from 8 until 4 in the high school department.
You also had, if you didn't have a class, they had a room they called a study hall, and you could go there in between classes.
Yeah. But, you were living on campus, taking campus classes, but it was almost like being at home as well. The thing that I did after my classes were over, of course, was we had dinner usually at 5 o'clock. And then you did your homework whenever you got an opportunity, usually at night. But because I was a hairdresser also, I used to have my hair appointments after the classes were over. So I made 25 cents for a press and curl and 35 cents for a shampoo, press and curl. And that helped me to buy my school supplies and my books and so forth that I needed.
Well, I'm just amazed when we're talking these prices that so long ago. I mean, like it's not even within the realm of reality in this time period to be talking. I mean, I think now, what women are paying 80, 100 more for getting their hair done for what they were paying 25 and 35 cents.
Well, I actually did schedule my faculty women's appointments mostly after the 7 o'clock hour because we had to be in the dormitory at 7 o'clock when we were in high school. And so if I had an appointment across campus to do one of the faculty women's hair, then I got an excuse to be out on the campus after 7 o'clock, even though I was a high school student. So I didn't.
What about college?
Oh, at college, we had to be in the dormitory by 9 o'clock. And we had to stay on campus. You could only leave campus on Tuesdays in the evenings and Saturday morning to go if you had to go in town to shop or anything. So you stayed on campus, and campus was from the river, the bridge there on State College Road out to the DuPont Highway. If you went farther than that and got caught, you likely would get expelled from school. So you stayed on campus and followed the rules and did what you were supposed to do.
My. I'm telling you, we're going to wrap up a little bit afterwards, but I'm just really amazed at the memory and what you all can recall. I'm telling you, because I just think back to my junior high years and I can't even remember very much about that. So tell us, what was your travel like? I mean, I know you're on campus, but I know that you have to leave did you go home for holidays?
We could go home once a month. Actually, we could go home once a month. So we took the short line bus for 35 cents to go from Dover to Milford, and we'd walk out at the end of State College Road, and the bus driver would pick us up and take us to Milford.
That
So
was for you,
that was for me, not for Susan.
not for me.
But we would go home. We could go home once a month, but usually we would stay on campus because campus life was a little bit more exciting than being at home and having to share a bedroom with your brothers and sisters and, all those things you had to do. But you went home as often as you could, and on holidays always. If you had to go home with one of your roommates or a friend, you always have to have an excuse, whether to
That's right.
or a letter from your mother saying that you could go with that student, and a letter from your friend's mother saying you could come to their house. And even when we went home on once a month, we had to have a letter from our parents saying that we could come home. So, it was just like a different
It was
lifestyle when we were on campus. And
Well, of course, I only went home on holidays. I never went home in between.
but the whole campus was a family because there were only about 200 people on campus, including the custodians, the workers, the teachers, and everybody. So it's like a big family.
All right. Well, I have some more questions and I'll get into a little bit more of that detail.
Okay.
And so I want to ask both of you, and either one of you can go first, but since we have Mrs. Browne as a senior, maybe I'll just let her go first.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your teachers and professors that you had when you were at the college? What do you remember about them?
At the college. Said-
Oh,
No, at the high school and the college.
Oh, high school and college, the teachers and professors at the high school and the college.
well, the high school, I guess I thought my math teacher, Mr. Bailey, and I think Miss Clark taught us French. And those are the only two I can hardly remember. And but
Any
I
from
get-
college? Any from college, you recall?
yeah, well, as I said, they taught high school at times. As the teachers taught high school and college
Mm.
students. So
Was there any favorite teacher?
hmm,
Did you have a favorite? A favorite teacher?
a favorite teacher.
Favorite teacher? Who was your
Well,
favorite?
wait a minute, that's my next question.
Oh.
So you can go ahead, and talk about it. I wanted to ask you.
The favorite teacher.
No, I wanted to ask you, did any of your teachers, like leave an impact on you? Something that they did or said or the way they were that really impressed you and stuck with you, and why did that stick with you?
Did any of your teachers impress you or have a good impact on you?
Let me see.
Maybe.
I think the teacher, one of the home economics teachers, was very nice to me, and she did have, but of course she didn't have an impact for me to take home economics stuff. And I had for elementary, we had a teacher that taught elementary subjects, Mrs. was it Valent? See, and I guess she impressed me more than because that's what I wanted to be, an elementary teacher. And the courses that we took on the elementary, I think her name is Miss Valentine. I think it was her name.
I tell you, you're doing a lot better than I would be doing right now. So, Dr. Hollingsworth, what about you?
Well, as I said, I was a home economics major, and since I was a home economics major, all of my professors taught both high school and college. And Dr. Ruth Laws was the chair of the home economics department, and she also taught college and became my sorority sister as well, or I became her sorority sister. But at any rate, they taught us like we were their children. And so they were really concerned about us getting a quality education because at that time, the folks used to think that because you were going to a segregated school, you were getting an inferior education. And that was not true with Delaware State College. And I found that out when I went to the University of Delaware. But as far as what they taught us and so forth, actually, I think Minnie Winder, who was also my sorority sister eventually, had the most impact on me because she had a sister who lived in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and she told me that I could make more money if I went to Asbury Park and worked in the summer instead of going to Rehoboth Beach to work. And I did, and I went there in 1950, 6, and that was when I met my husband to be. And we married while I was a junior in college. So that was one of the, and we were friends, and instead of just being teachers and so forth, we became friends. And I was her hairdresser, of course. So we just became a part of the family.
Well, that helps being a hairdresser to your teacher, I would expect. Yes.
Well, I
I
certainly
mean-
made sure that I did a good job. And
Oh yeah, you know you had to do a good job, otherwise your grades were impacted.
well, speaking of that, I actually did have one teacher who, actually Ruth Laws, who caused my teacher who did when I did my student teaching, my student critic teacher had given me an A for student teaching, and Dr. Laws told her to change it to a B.
Oh,
I was a little bit perturbed about that, but there's nothing I could really do about it except get upset. But I did challenge her about it after I got out of college and started working. And of course, she had forgotten that she ever did that. But I did, because I had the results, But when people do things like putting stumbling blocks in your way, I always use them for stepping stones to do better. So.
Oh, what a great fame! I have to remember that one. So this is a question I need both of you to really think, really hard about. You've been doing absolutely fantastic with your memory thus far, and with what you can say about these things. So, this is a little more meaty questions. So, since you were attending a segregated school, and it was during the most formidable Jim Crow years, meaning that this is when Jim Crow was at its peak. Was there anything you can remember that was particularly difficult for you to deal with as a result of that period, and why?
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
you say during the Jim Crow years, that since you had been raised that way, I really didn't have any problems with it, because ever since I could remember, that was a part of our lives. So, Ian, you learn to accept it and go on. And that's
Right.
that's what I did.
All right. So you didn't have any like really upsetting moments with dealing with the laws that kept you at a second class citizen.
Did you have any problems with the laws that kept you as a second-class citizen?
The law.
Did you have any problems with those laws
No.
as a child?
No, as a child, you accept what your parents accept. So therefore, of course, as I say, my father was a farmer, and at that time, there weren't many Black farmers, so most of our neighbors were white. So, and we had no problems there.
Okay, Dr. Hollingsworth, what about you?
Well, for me, I have, because I'm a little bit younger than she is, and I lived in the town of Milford, and I could actually walk from my house to Milford High School. But when I got to the door, I was a little bit too brown to go inside the building. So I had to make arrangements to get my education by leaving Milford, coming to Booker T for 10th grade, and then later at Delaware State College High School for 11th and 12th grade. And the thing that really bothered me most about all of it was paying my bills, because I had to pay for transportation and had to pay my college bills, and that was really very, very difficult. But I know that it was less than perhaps I would have had to pay if I had gone to the University of Delaware. At the time I was in college, my bill was $30 a month. And I had a job in the dining hall in one of the offices that paid me $20 toward my bill, which left me owing $10 every month. So at the end of the year, when it got time to take your finals, I had to get special permission from the president in order to take my final exams. Even when I graduated, I had not I had a bill of $100 and some that I had to pay during the summer before I got my degree after I had paid my bill. But I was able to participate in graduations, but it was embarrassing. And you just thought that you were the only one who was so poor you couldn't pay your bill and you couldn't do a lot of the things that we thought should have been done. But of course, later on, we found out that we were just one among the number. So it really did not hurt us in a way, because it teaches you how to sacrifice, but it also teaches you how not to, as my dad used to say, you don't have to take it low for anybody, that you're as good, the folks are as good as the people, was what he would used to say. So when I went to the store, if somebody didn't treat me properly, I didn't buy anything from them. I wouldn't wear what they sold. I wouldn't go back into their store and so forth. So that was just my attitude about it, and it still is.
All right, so a lot of what has been said was, I guess, related to being on the campus. But what was life like for you when you left the campus and had to go into the town? I know you said that you had to stay on campus and you had a curfew at 7 o'clock when you were in high school and 9 o'clock when you're in college. But how often did you and the other students get to leave campus? And did you leave campus, and what did you do when you left campus?
Well, we left campus on Tuesdays and Saturdays. The school provided the school bus to take us into Dover, and you had an hour or two to do your shopping, but you went to the stores that catered to you rather than those who insulted you because our dollars was the same color as everybody else's did. And I can tell you an experience that I had as an adult here in Dover that kind of stung a little bit. I like hats, and so I had gone to the hat store there on State Street to try on a hat. And when I walked in, the lady gave me a little skull cap and told me to put it on. I said, "What's this for?" And she said, well, I started stammering, said, at that time we were colored folks. Colored people have oil in their hair, and you might get oil on the hat if you don't buy it. So I said, well, since I'm not going to wear this, I asked for first if everybody who came to the store had to do the same thing. Of course, no, they didn't. Only the Black people had to put the skull cap on. I said, well, since I'm not going to wear the hat with a skull cap on it, I'm not going to buy the hat. So, and I'm going to tell everybody that I know not to patronize your store because you're insulting to your customers. So that was just my attitude about it. I did without a lot of things because of my mouth and stubbornness and all that.
Yeah, you told me about the expression your neighbors had, those blank Rosses.
Well, that was a family thing, from my grandfather and all the way down. We were known as those. Well, I can say that because it's also in the dictionary, those damn Rosses. And so we were known as that. But my grandfather said they always talk about the damn Rosses this and damn Rosses with that. You can't do anything with them. He said, but you do precious little without us. So
no, that is great to know.
So you develop confidence when you have parents and grandparents who help you to develop who you are.
And so were there other students that, since the two of you did not go to school at the same time, I guess you weren't even on campus at any point?
I was there during the time Susan was in college, because she graduated from college the same year I graduated from high school.
Oh, that's correct. Right. She graduated college in 1945, and you were in high school.
Yes.
In 1945.
Yeah,
see, she took off years, so that kind of gave you a chance to kind of catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
On those 8-year difference that was there. Oh, okay. Well, we're running late on the time, and there's some other questions I really want to get to. One of them actually being, were there any students that you befriended on campus that were your friends then, and you all remained friends long after leaving college?
Oh, you want Sue to answer first?
Oh,
yeah, she could.
Go ahead.
No, well, the friends I did have a friend from Lewis that we were very close, and but she was my roommate, and then I had a lady from Milton was my roommate, but both of them are deceased. but I was older than both. I was older than they, but they had passed on. Now one was from Milton and the other was from Lewis, Delaware.
Were they elementary school teachers or were they in a different discipline?
Did they become elementary school teachers?
No, they didn't. Now these were high school. They no, see, I was a day student in college, but no, they didn't go to college.
Oh, they didn't go to college.
Those were high school friends, but no, they didn't go to college.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, but I had friends in high school who also were my roommates, and they also went to college with me as well. And one of them remained, we were both in the home economics department, so we actually ended up teaching in the same school at William C. Jason together. And we remained friends until she passed away. So she was from Seaford, Delaware. And all of us were friends. Everybody on campus was friendly with everybody else.
True.
And everybody was supportive of each other. If you needed some help from anybody, everybody was very willing to give it to you. And whether that was instruction or sharing something that they had, that was just like a big family. And yes, those folks were our friends and stayed that way until the end. Yes.
Well, I'm going to ask you now a very difficult question for the two of you.
Okay.
Have you ever thought about what you would have done with your life had you not been able to attend Delaware State College?
No, sir, I have not, because I'm not going to pick chickens and pick beans and so forth. I knew from the very beginning, when I was actually about 4 or 5 years old, I knew I was going to be a teacher one way or another. So it was a goal that was not going to be interrupted for some other stuff. I mean, even though I had to, work and save money and pay and all that, that was my goal rather than thinking of something else as an alternative career.
Yeah, well, I never, what my life would have been like. I never thought about that because, as she said, I got to continue my education, and I'm just happy that we could do that.
Well, I am certainly happy that you two were able to do that, because look of how much of an impact you've had, not only on probably your other family members, but the state of Delaware. And we're just that more fortunate that has been your claim to fame and your value that you have contributed. So only a few more questions and we can ramp up here. What would you say, Dr. Hollingsworth, was the most rewarding part of attending Delaware State College for Colored Students? And tell us also, when did the name change from Delaware State College for Colored Students to just Delaware State College?
Well, the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, we were known as the colored school, and we were not supposed to have sense enough to do a lot of things that whites thought. We were put down as such. Even the state of Delaware had a law until 1973 saying that Blacks only needed enough education to read, write, and count a bit. And my response to that is, if that's all the education that I needed, I didn't need to go to anybody's school, because my parents had taught me that before we were 5 and 6 years old. So, but that was the most important thing. And then, of course, when I went to the University of Delaware in 1952 and again 54, when they did not really want us there on campus and made no bones about it. I remember very well that when I went back in 1954, one of the people who was in that class in 52 had gotten a job at the campus and had become my advisor in home economics, and of course had access to my records. And when she saw that I had made, well, she first told me that no matter what I did, I couldn't get anything more than a B out of her class. And I wanted to know why. She said, well, she had gotten B's in the classes that we had in 1952, and I had gotten A's. And we were competing there with people who had gone to Cornell, NYU, and all those other places, which let me know that Delaware State had prepared us well to compete wherever we went. And so I found that to be true throughout. I mean, I don't have to stand back because my undergraduate education came from Delaware State College for colored students, and Of course, it later
Mhm.
changed to Delaware State College and later University. So no, I just don't think that, you know, we were anywhere near as illiterate, stupid, dumb, and we are not even today as some people think that we are.
Mm.
Mrs. Browne, what was most rewarding for you attending the high school and the college?
It what?
What was most rewarding?
Oh, the most rewarding was in high school was being away from home, and because as I said, we lived on a farm, and I wasn't very good doing farm work. So that was the most rewarding. And then as to be around students my age and to make new friends, that was really important.
Socializing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go back to a question I wanted to ask, but I just want our listening audience to really, take in the fact that these are not just two luminaries that have lived a long life, and they're not just alive, they are actually lively. And I'm sure you can see that these two women are not just alive at this age, they are lively. And I stress that because I know older people and they they've lived to mid-90s and even 100, and they can't do anything for themselves. They're just alive. They're not lively at all. So I hope all of you have appreciated this lively conversation with these two seniors that really make us rethink what it means to get old. And if you're in your 70s or your 60s and you're talking about you old, just think about who we're talking to right now. So my last question is, having lived as long as you have, what words of wisdom can you give us about living not only a long, but a long, active, and healthy life?
Well,
Mrs. Browne?
with me, I always feel as though you need to keep you active, your body as well as your mind. That is because, of course, I'm a reader. I love to read novels, and I read anything I can get a hold of. I'm just a reader, and therefore also believe in exercising. So I do exercise every day, and I always try. Of course, I'm still driving.
So am I.
So therefore, I go somewhere every day. Get in, and it's something I had the modern maturity that I go to, and then I go in. I go in Dover, and I walk. Sometimes I walk around there, but most of the time I do believe in exercising your mind and your body.
She's dancing.
Before you answer, Dr. Hollingsworth, I just want to, if you can pull that screen back over to Mrs. Browne. I do want to say that I remember when I first met Mrs. Browne, she was 102 years old. Told me that for her birthday present, she got a new car. And I don't know how many people would be getting or even thinking about getting a new car. Did they offer you a 5-year repayment
license? How long is your license for?
My license?
No, not the license. Did you finance
the car? 20 what?
Did you finance the car when you bought the new car?
Finance the car.
He's asking something else. Did you finance the car? Did you buy it?
No. I paid cash for it.
You know, like I said,
For my car. I got a new car and it's 2018. And I paid cash for it. Yeah, I didn't
No financing.
no financing.
Yeah, no financing. And
Okay.
so and my license are till 20, what is 2020? What is this?
This is 2023.
Your license, when do your license
I think
expire?
there's a 2024. I think that's what they are. I still got a few more years, a couple more years.
When you went to renew your license, did they ask you, did you make a mistake in the year you put down when you were born?
Did they ask you, were you really the age you are?
No, no, they didn't. I was surprised. They didn't say anything. They just
Really?
looked at my old license and whatever to do, gave me my new ones. And I was shocked. It was for 9 years. I had it for that long. Yes.
Well, it's just amazing. You told me that you used to drive to the Dover Mall and walk around the Dover Mall. Do you
Yes,
still
I
that?
do. Walk around Dover Mall.
And you know, I want everyone to know that not only does she drive, but Mrs. Browne backs into her driveway so that she can just pull out straight when she leaves from her home. And I guarantee you, there are a number of people who would not ever challenge the fact of their abilities to back into a space as opposed to just pulling right in. So, you know, these are just some things I know. And when I asked Mrs. Browne, you know, what was her secret for being so lively and healthy at 102?
Well, my
she turned
secret.
103. She turned 103 like a couple of months later, but you know, and I went to the birthday. It was like a caravan that they had for her in Dover around her neighborhood, which was really fantastic. I was fortunate and to be a part of that and to take you know, several pictures. But when I remember that you told me when I asked you what was the secret, and you said, "Keep it moving." And that's essentially what you've had to say again today. So, Dr. Hollingsworth, now we want to have you give your words of wisdom to these youngins, us youngins.
Well, Susan, of course, has said the same thing. You have to stay active, and you have to keep your mind and your body active.
That's true.
And you have to eat properly and keep your weight under control so that you don't get big and fat and sloppy. And the other thing is, we grew up in our household, and our dad and mother would not let us say the word can't, because they said can't means can try. So until you tried something, you don't know whether you can do it or not. So you just keep on trying. And that's why now I'm still doing workshops in parliamentary procedure and workshops on how to find your genealogy and whatever else somebody needs me to help them with. And, you know, I do what I can. And I'm not exercising quite as much as Susan is, but I do keep it moving.
Well, I think both of you are doing tremendously well. And again, Dr. Hollingsworth, you know, congratulations and
Thank you.
You know, happy birthday.
Thank
We will be getting to that a little later, but you know, it's just hard to look at the two of you and actually think of you as being over 80, if even that old. And I tell you, I clipped a news article out of the Dover, is it the Dover Post? Is that the newspaper? Of Mrs. Browne standing on one leg to show what balance and what
one leg.
Yeah, one leg. I mean, can you imagine? How old were you in that when you did that article?
I can stand on one leg.
She said she can still stand on one leg.
You can still stand on one leg. Oh my goodness. You know, I hope
That's my daily exercise is standing on one leg.
I hope those of you who are listening into this webinar that you are gaining some real wisdom and knowledge, and to really appreciate that, you know, I guess you got to just come from good genes to be able to be as healthy, lively as these two women are, I'm telling you, it's a lot we can learn, and it's a lot you have given to not only to your family and friends, but to the state of Delaware. So we're gonna pause now and kind of not pause actually, but we're gonna like switch our script a little bit and go to some questions from the audience. And we have a few, and hopefully we can get through them, and everyone can be satisfied, hopefully, with your responses. So we're going to start with the first question. It says, did the rest of your siblings attend high school?
Did the rest of your brothers and sisters attend high school?
No.
No, one of
No,
I thought you said you had a sister.
I'm the only high school. I'm the only one. I had a niece that they, but
your sister got her high school diploma.
Geneva.
oh, that's right. My sister did finish high school, didn't they?
Yeah.
They finished, and that's right. Geneva finished, and Florence finished high school, and but I was the only one to go on. Guess I'm the only one in my intermediate family that finished college.
So,
other than my niece.
before I leave you, I did want to ask. First, let me just state this. Well, I guess I do have to ask. Are you the last of your family? You're living.
Last living.
I'm the last of my
living member of your
family.
immediate
I'm
family.
the last one, yes. I had two younger brothers, and I think I was number 10 or something like that, because my mother had 12. I came from a big family.
Yeah. No wonder you were so happy to go to Delaware State.
Well, I have one sister who's still living.
Yeah.
And but she has Alzheimer's, and she's in a facility, but
and there were how many? 8?
Yeah, but she's my youngest sister. I'm 10 years older than she. And I did have one brother who finished college with he ended up with a master's degree, and another sister who ended up with an associate degree. But all of us had businesses that we could take care of ourselves, so we didn't have to depend on somebody to take care of us.
Okay, I do want to say something about Mrs. Ross's family and just her lineage here. Her ancestors were slaves in Dorchester and Caroline counties in Maryland, and they were distant relatives of the famed abolitionist Harriet Ross Tubman. So you all need to look that up as well. Reba's mother's ancestors were free Africans, and their ancestry can be traced back to the 1790s. Can you imagine that? How many of you can trace your family roots all the way back to the 1790s? And I also want to say that Reba and her siblings were taught values that governed and united the family, and the family always ate dinner together. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of Black families, we were told you got to eat together. I mean, everybody got to be there for dinner. Otherwise, you may not even get any dinner, because once they finished, all of the grub is gone. Reba and her siblings were taught, as she said, to read, to write, to count before they even entered the first grade. And she went to segregated schools in Milford. And not only were they taught to count, but Reba says they were taught to count forward and backward to 100.
Yes.
And I don't know too many people that teach their kids to count backwards, but
we could say our ABCs backwards too. We had to say our ABCs backwards too, from Z to A, and A to Z, and just as fast one way as the other. So
And I do.
And we had to write in our heads. We couldn't use a pencil and paper to do figures, so.
You had to do it in your head.
Yeah.
Okay. And another thing that I want to say about Dr. Hollingsworth is that, she's the second eldest of 7 children, and she was always expected to take care of her other siblings. And she helped instill in her siblings the beliefs and the values that the parents taught. So she was like I don't know, what do you call it, like a supervisor over the kids, the secondary parent, or but she was there to do that. And even at an early age, she was encouraged to become a responsible individuals, to do chores, and once they reached certain age, they had to own their own business. So I don't know a lot of parents that teach their kids to try to get a business and to own a business. So anyway, let me go into the questions right now. I just want to mention that in case that primes any questions in anybody's mind, in knowing that information. So to the both of you, did any of your friends have to stay home and work rather than pursuing a college degree? And did some African-American students from Sussex County have to work on their family's farm instead of going to college during the 30s and 40s?
Yes, there were some students who only completed the education that was offered in their area, and in Sussex County and Kent County, most of the schools for Blacks ended either at 6th grade, 7th grade. There were only 2 schools that I can remember that went to the 11th grade in Sussex County, and the rest of them went to the 10th grade or 9th grade. So when they completed the education that was offered in their community, their parents really could not afford always to send them away to college or to finish high school somewhere, which meant that when I was teaching at Jason, I had some parents who came over, and I encouraged them to actually come back to William C. Jason and finish and get their high school diploma. And so some of the actually parents graduated with their children at the same time.
So like daddy wasn't able to go to high school.
Oh,
Yeah. So or your brothers had to stay and work on the
look,
farm.
I was the only one.
You were the only one who could. You and the girls.
And then I had a niece that, Esther.
But all your friends and everybody else that you knew also was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, Mrs. Browne, you had indicated to me during your interview 2 years ago that 2 of your sisters had attended Delaware State College for Colored Students. So neither of them finished?
It was,
So Aunt Geneva finished.
yes,
And
Florence.
Florence.
And I had 2 sisters that finished at high school, but they didn't go to college.
Okay.
There.
So they did finish high school. Okay.
My oldest sister went to nursing school. She became a nurse.
Okay. Okay. Next question is, were there Black-owned businesses in Dover where DSU students could eat?
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of those restaurants in Dover?
Were there places where Black students could eat in Dover?
Was it?
Business.
The downtown Dover, there were the Black beer gardens and
No, like I said, I went. The only place was a person a Black man that had a restaurant, and that's the only place at that when I was coming along. That was the only place for Black people. We could not eat in any restaurant
except
in Dover, downtown, or any other restaurant. At that time,
there was one restaurant that was near Booker T School that we could go into and get a sandwich or a candy or something like that. But no, we had to depend on whatever you cooked for yourself or you got at Delaware State College.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask a question for you, Dr. Hollingsworth. This person asked, they graduated from University of Delaware in 1972 in home ec, and she says, my area of interest was textile science. I'm interested to know more about your home ec curriculum and if you had a major within home ec.
I did have a major within home economics. As a matter of fact, when I went in 1954, it was to try to get my master's in home economics. That was before I got the job as a guidance counselor. And this woman that I told you who became my advisor would not read my thesis after I got the job as a counselor because she said I was deserting the field. So even though I still have my thesis completed, she would not read it and give me my degree and my master's degree in home economics. But what I did as a result of that, this was another stumbling block that I used as a stepping stone. Well, I was going to lose all the credits that I had earned when I was working on both my master's in home economics when I went into counseling. And I was going to lose those credits because I had to then start working on a master's in counseling. So I went to the Department of Education, and Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd was the chair of the department. And I explained my situation to her. She said, I said, I don't think it's fair. She said, I don't either. We're having a departmental meeting this afternoon. I will take your case before the board. So they changed the law as a result of my running my mouth again. So when I got my master's in counseling, I got a master's plus 30. So I got a dual salary increase at that time and changed the law for everybody else who came after me.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Well, this question is for both of you. And Mrs. Browne, why don't you go first? You probably have touched on this already, but this person asks, well, let me, I'm trying to see whether or not I should mention the person's name when I'm asking the question. Alex, are you still there? Can you give me some guidance on that?
I am here. I don't think there's an issue. People are allowed to ask questions anonymously, so I'm hoping it's okay if they have put their name down to say who asked the question.
Okay, so the last question that I had read, I'll come back to it, but Jean asked, what gave you both a love for learning?
We didn't want to be dumb. That's stupid. And then our parents had really, our parents had really
a love for learning.
Our parents had really started teaching us from the time we were in the cradle. And so we knew that, you had to read and write and count in order to be able to progress in this life. And, you had to learn how to count money. Even if you didn't go to college, you would be mighty stupid if you got somebody would hire you out and not pay you what they were supposed to. So you had to learn how to count money. So it's you needed an education. And so I've always known from the time I could remember, and I can remember things back to the time I was 3 years old. But education was a part of our life expectations.
That was part of your upbringing. All right, Mrs. Browne, what about you?
Well, I had a teacher that I admired, and after she taught, I decided that I wanted to be an elementary teacher. So that was really what helped me to want to continue my education, because as I say, I wanted to be an elementary teacher.
And you were.
That works. Okay. Someone asked anonymously, have you recently visited the campus of Delaware State College and now university? And if so, what changes are you pleased with what you've seen, and what changes concern you that has been made to the school?
Well,
yes, I go out there all the time because Delaware State is still within walking distance of my house. And so I go out there and I'm active with the Alumni Association. As a matter of fact, I'm a parliamentarian for the National DSUAA, the Alumni Association. And so we go out there and do whatever is necessary, to speak to the classes and help with the students. The thing that bothers me most, though, is that they don't seem to have the same rules for developing it personally in terms of what you dress, how you wear, what you look like, and things like that. And I realize those things have changed, but the old home economics teacher in me says that if you can't pinch an inch, if you cannot pinch an inch, it's too tight, and you don't expose anything that should be covered up. So that's. But anyway, those are just my biases.
Mrs. Browne, have you been back to the campus recently? Because you don't live that far from the campus.
I haven't been back to the campus. Where did I go?
Well, you went last year.
You went last year,
Interviews.
because I can say I don't visit I don't go to any thing they have on the campus now. Of course, one reason is I'd have to hire a driver, so and the campus has changed, so I'm lost when I get up there. So therefore, I don't visit the campus anymore. I don't go for any things they have there.
Okay, there's another question here that's anonymous. Were there ever racial incidents with DSU, with the students at the college and high school when you were there that involved the Dover community?
None that I know of. I was never involved with any of them. And I don't remember anybody being involved with them because it was.
They kept you pretty.
Huh?
They kept you on campus.
It kept us on campus for one thing. We only, when we went on campus, we often had the bus driver there, so, and then you didn't want to do anything that's going to put you in a bad light with it. You wanted to be
safe,
respected and respectful. And so that's how you carried yourself. And if you had to have a conversation with somebody, well, for me anyway, I would say what I needed to say, but I tried to smile when I said it. So that took out some of the sting.
Okay. Another question here. Alex, if you can just jump in a minute, because I'm looking, it seemed like we had more questions and some have come falling off. Can you tell me what's happening with that?
Yep. So I've been keeping track. Once you have asked a question and it's been answered, it's just been moved to the answered tab. So if you kind of see, so the ones that are open right now are the ones that we haven't gotten to yet.
Okay. So was there a this is another question here. Was there a neighborhood or a subdivision in North Dover near the campus where DSU professors and faculty lived?
Yes, there were faculty buildings, houses all on State College Road from the bridge down to almost the railroad track before they built the apartments there. Those were the faculty houses, and they also had the faculty houses on campus. And so in both places we could go there if we had a reason to. We could go to a faculty person's house to do hair or something of that sort, but you always
have dinner.
Had permission, yes, to have dinner. And the president would also, when I was there, if you'd go over there, he would also say, give Reba something to eat. So yeah.
So, Ms. Browne, were you aware, or did they have faculty buildings on the campus for the faculty?
Yes. They had faculty buildings. Yes, but of course I never visited them. But
well, you never got invited for dinner at none of your professors?
They had faculty. I guess most of the faculty lived on the campus, didn't they?
Yes, or in Dover, if you will,
or lived near there.
Okay, you said that Dr. Jason was the president of the school when you were there, Mrs. Browne?
Was Dr. Jason president when you were there?
Now, look.
Who was your president when you were at Delaware State?
Look, what I'm trying to say. Now, Dr. Jason was a little bit before my time.
Okay. He was there when I was there. My mother was there.
Dr. Grossley was there. I think my first year when I was in the 9th grade, Dr. Jason was our religious leader, and we had to go to services on Sunday afternoon. But that was only the first year. After that, we didn't.
So he said President Grossley.
So Dr. Grossley was the president when you were there?
Yeah, Dr. Grossley was the president. Yeah.
So that's where Grossley Hall comes from, huh? The name Grossley Hall.
Yes.
Okay. And is that William C. Jason Library for Dr. Jason?
Yes.
Okay. And Dr. Hollingsworth, who was president when you were there?
When I went there was Dr. Gregg, Howard D. Gregg.
Greg, okay. No buildings on campus named in his
Dr.
honor?
Grizzly was
Oh,
mine.
I didn't
No
understand.
buildings on campus and named in his honor?
There may be. I don't know of any that I can think of right offhand. No,
Well, I've been all over the campus. I don't remember seeing a building this name.
no. But
How-
he and his wife were pretty, they did all right with me.
Okay, okay. Well, I just, Alex, does that conclude with the audience questions?
I think actually, so we've got one more in chat, two in the Q&A. I'll just acknowledge. So less questions, but more comments. So Darlene
Yeah.
is saying thank you for an informative discussion. And then Carlton is impressed that that y'all are still driving and staying active. So it really is. It's great to hear. And then so in the chat here, the question is,
Well, wait a minute, before you get
sorry. Yep.
before you get beyond the driving, I do want to say that both these ladies not only drive, but they drive new cars. They're not old cars like they are. They are new cars. I mean, Dr. Hollingsworth drives a BMW. What is it? A
SUV.
yeah, a BMW SUV.
Mhm.
And I mean, she can handle that car too. And then Mrs. Browne, she drives a Subaru.
Subaru.
And what year is the Subaru?
What year?
2018.
28. So look, these women not trying to just
It was my 100.
put around. They really on the drive. They're doing serious business with their car.
Well, we can't depend on the young people. They're too busy doing all the stuff they want to do.
So you take matters into your own hand. Okay,
Yes,
we
sir.
are coming down to that matter. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry and apologize for interrupting, but if you can go back to what you were
Sure.
about to say.
Sure thing. So the last question I'm seeing here is, did either Dr. Hollingsworth or Mrs. Browne attend the William C. Jason School in Georgetown? And if so, can they talk a little bit about that experience?
I didn't attend. I taught
No.
there.
Yeah, they both went to the Delaware State College for Colored Students for both high school and college. So no, they didn't
And
go
William
there.
C.
But
Jason.
you
yeah,
can talk about your time teaching at William C. Jason.
William C. Jason was not built until 1950. That was the first high school south of Wilmington for Black
Right.
students in 1950. And William Henry opened in 1952 and Louis L. Redding in 1953. And so by that time, I was already out teaching and working and so forth. So, but I did get a job teaching at William C. Jason in 1954. And I taught there until the schools integrated in 66 when I got a job as a guidance counselor.
But
Well,
since they're,
like-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
At William C. Jason, actually, it was the only school in all of Sussex County where all of the faculty had degrees, because we found that a lot of the white schools had people who were teaching on associate degrees, and some of them were even teaching with a high school certificate. But at William C. Jason, every faculty member there had a degree or a master's degree. And our curriculum was actually broader than a lot of the other white schools in the county, which was why when I was president of the faculty before they were integrated, that I suggested that instead of having William C. Jason become Del Tech, that it become the high school for the Sussex County in that central area, because we were a better school than the others were.
So did that happen?
You do know it didn't happen because they had already made the agreement before they brought it to our attention that this was going to be the school that would be the first technical college in the state of Delaware. And it was kind of like, well, we'll see how this works before we open others in the state. So they had already decided that. The only thing that we made sure that they did not do was to tear down the old William C. Jason School and change its name, because even though it's Del Tech, the main building there is the William C. Jason High School.
Oh, good. All right, well, we're at that magic hour where we need to close out. I've been having a lot of fun. I hope you all had fun, because I tell you, it's been a pleasure to have you reminisce. It's been a pleasure. I just want everyone to just really focus on the fact these women are not just alive. They are lively. They are articulate. They have a memory like an elephant. And I'm telling you, I am just so overwhelmed with what they're able to deliver today. And I just want to remind you all, let you know that the oral history project that I completed in 2021 has their oral interviews online as well as a transcript of that interview. So I encourage you all to go to the state of Delaware, the site that they have. And matter of fact, Alex, do you have access to that site for the that's going to be one of our presentation at 3 o'clock today? Do you know whether they will be posting that, or should we just invite everyone to come back at 3 and listen to the story mapping for the DuPont Colored Schools
Absolutely.
presentation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I hope you all can join us at 3 for that presentation. And I'm sure, yeah, if there,
Yeah.
I'll make sure that if we can share links and things like that, we will absolutely do that.
And you can listen to these young ladies again and so much more that they can tell you about not only their time as students, but also their time as teachers. And I think that's the number one thing that they talk about, the years teaching, which is an exciting thing for all of us to hear about. So, Alex, I think we're ready for that special moment here.
Okay, that sounds good. So we just wanted to take our last few minutes to wish Dr. Hollingsworth a very happy birthday. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little song. And then while I do that, I think I actually have found a way. I'm going to give our attendees the opportunity to unmute themselves. So after we play a song, we would like to sing Dr. Hollingsworth happy birthday. So give me 1 second here.
Oh, what about the big band?
Yep, that's going to come first.
Okay.
So we just wanted to kind of share our little
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Okay, so now we're going to play our special song, and I'm going to work on giving folks the opportunity to unmute so we can sing ourselves afterwards.
That's it.
Ooh.
24 people.
Am I able to share a screen? If so, I can, I guess I can play that. There we go.
Okay, so folks, you should be able to unmute yourselves now if you'd like to join us in singing happy birthday to Dr. Hollingsworth. All right, Abdullah, do you want to kick us off?
That is.
I'll play it again because Alex, were you aware that I was playing that?
Oh, I just played it myself, but do you want to? I think we should be able to sing ourselves now. So those who are unmuted can sing. So do you want to start us off with happy birthday?
And we can't hear the music. And then did you share sound?
Oh, I thought I did. Oh, geez. Look at me. And now I can't even share. Oh my gosh, I didn't. Okay.
Oh, wait, you said you can't hear the sound?
We couldn't hear the song.
Oh, wait a minute. All right, so let me see what I think I have to put in here how to share that. Oh, share sound. Okay.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, it's not letting me. Why it's not letting me click on.
Same here.
Not letting me hit share sound.
Yeah, I'm getting the same.
Oh.
I'm getting the same notification. It's very strange.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I got it now.
Oh, is it working? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me move this.
One of my classmates was Grace Bell, but she died. I see her name is up here, so I don't know if it's somebody else or not.
Right.
Mhm,
Is it working for you, Abdullah?
mhm.
Yeah, it's playing. Did you get it? You said you disabled the link.
No.
Disabled the link.
Mhm.
Alex.
So these professionals have technology.
Still not fine.
No,
Are
it's
they
not
playing on my
working.
end?
All right. Well, how about this? So
Why don't you
let's-
play it?
well, I think I did, but I guess nobody heard. So let's sing happy birthday. I know a couple people are unmuted. All right.
Okay,
Ready?
on three, everyone. On a one and a two and a three. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Hollingsworth. Happy birthday to you. And may there be many more.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank you
Happy
all.
birthday.
thank you.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up
Yep.
here. Thank you so much, Abdullah. Thank you so much, Dr. Hollingsworth, Mrs. Browne, and Dr. Overby. We really appreciate you being here, and thank you for being willing to share your stories and experiences with us. I think it's just a really special opportunity. So we're so grateful to you for your time.
Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
asking us. It was our honor to be asked. Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
so glad.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I just want to invite everybody. Our next session starts at 1:45. So we're going to just shut this room down, give our next presenter a chance to get on and get ready. And then at 1:45, you can use the same Zoom to join us. All right. Thanks
Take
again.
care. Thank
Take care.
you.
Thank
Thank you so
you,
much.
thank you.
I guess I'll close it out.